So I used to think the most important thing about jazz is improvisation, but now I realise it's telling all the other musicians that they're playing the songs wrong. So there's a serious point to all of this. When we start by learning some of the tunes like the ones we're going to talk about today, these are jam session staples, and they're among the first things that we probably learn when we're getting into jazz. The thing is, we learn them when we're not really able to use our ears that well early on. Perhaps we're not good at hearing chord progressions, or we don't really look into the details of things. So we end up learning a lot of these basic songs not completely accurately. And the problem is there's lots of books like the original Real Book in particular, but even things like the Scher Real Book, which contain, features and alterations to the song that don't reflect the original composition, and sometimes just mistakes. Like the original illegal Real Book had loads of mistakes in it. It was quite legendary for that. And also sometimes some of the recordings include changes or mistakes, even when you are good at learning them. So these have crept into performances over the years. Now, obviously, this information can be used to vibe, belittle, and engage in empty one-upmanship on other musicians, which is using this knowledge for evil. Please don't do that. This is about engaging with the songs. And the way I see it, when I was starting off as a kid, I saw the songs as a necessary hurdle to get over in order to get into the all-important improvisation. Now I realise that most of the great straight-ahead musicians that I admire, from Barry Harris to Peter Bernstein, even people like Brad Meldau, who you wouldn't necessarily think of as a straight-ahead piano player, but he's really great at it, all view the song as kind of all-important. They all respect the composition. I often get bored of my 2-5-1 licks, the stuff that I was so keen to do when I was 19 years old. I now get bored by that stuff, but I never get bored of a great song or a great composition. So it turns out that all those hip indie players in the 90s were right when they said, you have to play for the song. No, it is about checking out the songs, and there's no point playing a song that you don't like well enough to do that with. On the other hand, it's also going to teach you that Miles Davis is to blame for a lot of these things. So let's get started. First of all, the bridge of all the things you are. There's a really strong case that the first chord is A minor 7 flat 5. It actually comes from Tina Yerkel's channel. Check it out if you haven't. She got it from Jimmy Bruno. I like this a lot. I like the A minor 7 flat 5. I've got the Scher Real Book version over there, and it says A minor 7. The melody is agnostic on the matter. Okay, that's what it sounds like with the minor 7 flat 5 with the half diminished chord. Much nicer, I think. One big issue is the last few bars of this song. There's quite a few variations of this. A lot of people play this. That's not quite the original melody. This is an ascending D flat major arpeggio, going up to the F. Actually, the original repeats a D flat twice, and then there's a leap up to the F. That's what Ella Fitzgerald sings. That's what's in the new Real Book, and I suspect that's probably how it was originally composed. So there's that. In the original illegal Real Book, it does something like this. It sounds more like the sort of thing you're going to play at the end of the song, like a final repeat through the melody. And that's close to what the first thing I played. The only difference is this is up here. It's just transposed up an octave. Okay. Now, a lot of people get snotty about this one, which is to go to the D flat instead of the F. The great jazz singer Kenny Hargood, who also appears on Birth of the Cool and Miles Davis, sings this with Thelonious Monk on his version with Milt Jackson. When all the things you are mine. There's an obvious reason why he does this. Kenny Hargood is a bass baritone, or was a bass baritone, that sits easier in the voice. All the things you are mine. Try saying it's quite nice as well. As opposed to all the things you are mine, which is probably way flat with me, because approaching that F by leap is not easy. I'm looking in your direction, Mozart. But obviously, if we're playing the guitar, we don't have to worry about that. We can play the top F, good-o. In the same spirit, out of nowhere, in the real book chart, we have F sharp, F natural, E. Now, the problem with that is that's not in the original melody. The original melody is more like this. They go straight to the E, right?
You took my heart and found it free. Wonderful dream.
It's good to know that isn't the original melody. I think that crept in during the bebop era because people like to play, people really like to tonicize, people being, you know, Charlie Parker, really like to tonicize that 2 chord. You can hear it, that kind of thing, right? Such a bebop move. In the swing era, it was more common just to leave that you know, F sharp, the E9 chord just float there. I'm saying it's wrong, but it's good to know what the original melody was. And this is a feature that's kind of become part of the melody just because that's the way it's written out in the real book. Okay, Stella by Starlight. So this song is a flipping minefield. I'm just going to play you what I make the original chords in the key of B flat. B flat is not the original key. A lot of people have a go at you for playing it in B flat in certain circles. I know Mike Marino's quite snotty about B flat. This is Miles Davis's key. You put it in this key because he's a trumpet player. Trumpet players like to play things in B flat. I play it in B flat because if I played it in G, that would mean practically all of my songs are in G. So I'm going to do it in B flat so that's familiar as well. The original thing's a real sweeping orchestral number. I'll put a snatch of it up so you get the vibe. I don't really mind the E minor 7 flat 5 A7 changes, and there's also some in the comments going, the first chord is actually a diminished 7th with an added A in it. You know, it's fine. I know this. We've all seen the Barry Harris video. In fact, many jazz versions have E minor 7 flat 5 A7, and it sounds great. Most famously, of course, Miles Davis's version. Most people blame Miles Davis for the way people play this song today. So these are the more familiar, perhaps, real book style changes. I don't have a problem with those changes. After all, we are jazz musicians. We're not necessarily here to play the original songbook changes. And please don't be a pain in the bottom about this at jam sessions. If people want to play EA, that's fine. So one thing I do have a little bit of an issue with is how clunky it is to get into the B section. So the real book changes do this: F major 7th, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 alt, A minor 7 flat 5, D7 alt. That's a bit weak repeating that A. So why don't you just do what Miles Davis did? I mean, the real book chart is supposedly based on Miles Davis's version after all. Miles does something like this. He goes F major 7th, E minor 7 flat 5, and then instead of going to A7, there's this beautiful E flat major 7th chord, and then D7, and into the bridge. So that sounds really nice. You get that chromatic bass going down to D. From the point of view of soloing, you don't have to change what you're doing over that bit too much. So it's really a rhythm section consideration. It doesn't muck the soloist up too much. It's just a nice feature. That's a nice thing to be aware of if you're going to play this song. And a nice way to ask is to say, hey, could we try not playing the A minor 7 flat 5, but instead an E flat major 7th there? I think it sounds really nice. Or something like that. So going, you're playing it wrong. I can't believe you're playing it wrong. Who plays Stella by Starlight wrong? Second chord, Days of Wine and Roses. In the real book, we have E7 sharp 11th, which is kind of a rumpty-tump jazz chord. The Days of Wine and Roses, yeah. Days of Wine and Roses apparently is a very sad movie about alcohol dependency. I would suggest, why don't we consider Mancini's original chord, what he wrote there? Which is because it's blinking gorgeous. Oh! Such pathos. Michael Koch, a great piano, classical piano improviser, has got a whole video about this and how Robert Schumann used this chord. This is a really beautiful way to get into the 2 minor region of the key. So we're going from F major to G minor in the most beautiful way I can think of. In terms of like function, we're just playing an inverted A minor 7 flat 5 or A half diminished chord, or C minor 6 if you prefer, very Harris fans. 5 1. So really it's just 2 5 1, but this sounds utterly rubbish, and this sounds ravishing. What's the difference? The inversion. Of course, as you know, I sort of I'm a weird counterpoint head who doesn't believe in inversions. So this to me is just a different chord progression. Lush anyway. So that actually the original Mancini even has a beautiful sharp 11th in there on D7. So it goes. Just beautiful. Yeah, so I'd suggest that. That's really nice. If you didn't catch that, it's either C minor 6th over E flat, first inversion C minor 6, or A minor 7 flat 5, or A half diminished over E flat, so second inversion half diminished chord. Either way, it's gorgeous. Wes Montgomery doesn't play this. He plays something quite nice though, which is The Days. He plays this. This is a E flat major 7 sharp 11th with a double third. I'll put the grip up. It's a little bit more modern sounding, but it's still much more redolent of sadness to me than The Days of Wine and Roses. It's bluesy. Doesn't quite fit with the vibe of the song, that chord. No, horrible, don't do that. First chord of Night and Day, Cole Porter wrote A flat major 7, not D minor 7 flat 5. Now, I don't mind you substituting the chords, but why on earth would you play D minor 7 flat 5 when you could play a lovely A flat major 7th? Let me demonstrate. Night and day, you are the one. Okay. Night and day, you are the one. Lush. Number 2, surely number 2. Around Midnight. This needs a video of its own. I'm just going to talk about the A section. There's a wonderful Ethan Iverson blog where he gets onto the highest horse I've ever seen and then sort of lambasts the whole of jazz for playing Monk's music wrong, apart from Monk, presumably. Nobody escapes from his wrath. Miles Davis is in for it, Barry Harris, Tommy Flanagan, McCoy Tyner, you name it, they all get it in the neck. He could have done Wes Montgomery as well. And the worst thing is I agree with him. I think Monk's music is so specific. It's like Mozart. Every note is exactly the way it's meant to be. And it sounds weird to people, but he meant to write those notes. And when he didn't write things down that much, but when he did write things down, he wrote them down as a piano score. I'm aware that myself, I've not put as much effort into learning Monk's music. It's something I'd really like to do if I could get some time in a desert island somewhere. But I'm going to talk about Round Midnight, the A section of it. There's obviously a lot to it. It needs a video of its own. It's one of the Monk tunes that's out there in the public sphere. It was Amy Winehouse's favourite song, blah, blah, blah. Miles Davis' version is most famous, probably. The real book chart, I have no idea where that comes from. It doesn't even sound like Miles Davis's version. I'd say a fairly typical way of playing the tune is the way Wes plays it. It begins to tell, round midnight, I do pretty well. Excuse my voice. About sundown. And then for some reason it goes to G flat major 7th. Don't know why it does that. B flat 7. And then it goes B7, B flat 7, flat 9. So that's not too dissimilar from the original. The main difference is that G flat major 7th. And also it does this. It's 2-5 there. Yeah. Anyway, Wes's version is lovely. I mean, and I'm not going to gatekeep jazz from him. I just want to sort of have a quick look at the A section from Monk's original. This is what I make them out to be. You might disagree. So there's a lot less smooth. Monk is not about smoothness. So there's kind of a chromatic B7 sharp 11, B flat 7, and then it just stays. We get this on the E flat minor 6. It just sort of stays there, 2 bars, and then Then it goes back to E flat minor. There's a lovely A flat 7 flat 5 chord there. Instead of the B flat, instead of the B7 and Wes Montgomery stroke Melvin Rhines version. Melvin Rhines playing the organ on that. And then a very fast C minor 7 flat 5, going to B7 sharp 11th. And then B flat 7 flat 5. That chord is a lot more pungent than what Melvin Ryan plays on Wes's version, which is a kind of more generic minor key B flat 7 flat 9 flat 13 thing. You know, it's diatonic to the minor key. Whereas what Monk liked generally is a flat 5 on a dominant chord, and he'd play. Sorry, he'd play the right one. He'd play a nice sort of whole tone scale over the top of it like that. Monk was really good at playing whole tone scales. I should do a video on Round Midnight sometime, but I just wanted to bring that one up. The main thing is just to really listen to it. Anyway, I think that's all I've got time for today. This could be a series. People often correct me, by the way, on this channel for mistakes I make when I'm playing standards. Usually people from New York. I associate the kind of detailed respect for the standards repertoire as being a real New York thing, actually. I think New Yorkers are really into this. Although it sort of got me grumpy at the time, I'm actually really grateful that people do kind of say, hey, you're playing the wrong notes on Conception or whatever, you know. It's like, oh yeah. And they say nice things like, it's all right, Bill Evans plays the wrong notes as well. And I'm like, cool. But if you have any pet hates or shibboleths, or you've got anything to add to what I've said, especially on the subject of Around Midnight, Monk's music as a whole world, please do. If you don't, hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching. Please don't be a to other musicians. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next. Bye.